leader development call. And again, it's called the team leader development call because we're developing the next layers of leadership, right? The people that want to become team leaders. And in fact, today's topic is such a great topic because it's on how to become a 10-point leader in network marketing in this industry. So it's directly tied. If you want to become a team leader, this is definitely going to set you up, as well as the 2025 director search. What does that mean? We're looking for the next wave of leadership to promote the next levels of team leaders, but also to develop the next level of directors as well. And one of the best parts about this business is that in most places, right, you have to learn first, then you earn. Here, you get to earn while you learn. So, leadership is a huge thing. In fact, it is everything. And one of the biggest things my mentor has taught me is that he says, Julian, if you think you're leading, but no one's following you, you're only taking a walk, okay? So it's all about learning how to lead people. That's how you multiply your business, right? When you're only focusing on customers and planners and volume, you're simply adding to your business. Your business is going to grow incrementally. But when your focus is on developing leaders, right? Leaders that understand the system, leaders that understand how to move, touch, and inspire and impact people, you actually start multiplying in your business, right? You have your business grow 10x, 20x, 30x, and momentum's such a beautiful thing. And as leaders, that's something that we're all chasing, right? So again, we shared this a little bit earlier in the earlier calls. Leaders aren't born, right? In fact, leaders aren't made either. Leaders are found, right? And what does that mean? Leaders have what we call DNA, determined natural ambition. And I honestly think that's what separates people that are ordinary and people that become extraordinary is that inside of them they have that determined natural ambition, right? They have that hunger for success. They're thirsty for knowledge. They're willing to learn and grow, and they also understand the business doesn't happen for me. They understand that business happens because of me, right? And they take ownership. And again, in fact, in this industry, we need to become leaders. In fact, we're demanded to become leaders because people are searching for direction. People are searching for navigation. And even more importantly, people are searching for hope, right? And that's what we are. A lot of people, well, Julian, what do you do? Like, if you were to describe a leader in network marketing, how would you describe it? And coming from the fitness background, I would tell people, hey, we are professional bodybuilders. You on this Zoom are a professional bodybuilder. And you're like, Julian, what does bodybuilding have to do with business? And it comes down to something very, very simple. What we do is we lift people, right? You see what I did there? That's why I call it bodybuilding because we lift people. That's all we do, right? When you help people see themselves more than they are, guess what? They do more, and more importantly, they have more. And that's the only job as a leader, right? In fact, what really separates us from everybody else is we're just a little further ahead of the game than everybody else is, right? We have, our ability to have hindsight, our ability to look back, and we use our time and experience to create systems, right? And implement science and strategies to what? Become your foresight, your ability to look forward, to save you time, energy, and money, okay? And again, one of the biggest things about leadership is this. If you can't lead one, you cannot lead any. But if you can lead one, you can lead many. And that one is you, right? It all comes down to number one, being able to lead yourself. Because if you wouldn't even follow you, how can you expect other people to follow you, right? It's not one of those situations where all of a sudden you have a team of 1,000 and you decide to be a leader. No, you decide to be a leader first, and then the people will come, right? It's so much easier to become the one than to recruit the one. What do I mean by that, right? So many times in our industry, the biggest myth that we're told is that you're one person away. You're just one person away. You just got to recruit that one leader, that one leader. And here's what I want to share with you. People that are already in the industry that are established, people that already have success, they already have organizations. To be able to recruit them from one company to another, guess what? When they look at you, they have to see you as someone that they know, they like, and they trust, and more importantly, believe they can be led by, right? And so understanding that, it's so much easier for us to become that leader, to work on that skill set, to develop the habits, right? The belief systems, right? To be that leader. And guess what? When you become that leader, other leaders will be attracted to you. Other leaders will want to follow you. Okay. And that's how it is. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Becoming a 10-point leader. 10 points just simply means an all around leader, right? A leader that can do everything. And so we're going to break that down today on how to become a 10-point leader. Next week, we're going to go more specifically in how to recruit, sort and develop leaders, okay? So today's all about leadership and us becoming it. Next week is all about how do we recruit, how do we sort, and more importantly, how do we develop others into becoming leaders, okay? So how to become a 10-point leader, right? These are a couple of things that we're going to be talking about today. Number one, it's about having the clarity of vision, right? Leaders possess a clear, compelling vision for their team's success, but more importantly, they can communicate it effectively, okay? And and it comes down to you. What is your why? What is your vision? Because at the end of the day, right, the only thing that's worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. Even the Bible talks about it, right? Without vision, the people perish. So let me ask you, what is your vision? Now, Remont has their own vision, right? To become the number one skincare company, to do over $10 billion in revenue a year. Right, then you talk to Mr. Tim Herr, Mr. Chris Kim, right, about what is their vision for Team 1% is to become the fastest, the strongest, and the biggest organization in all of Remont, and to get to 5 million a month, right? That's Tim Herr's current vision. So, as leaders, it's important for us to have a vision of what we want to create, what we want to build, what does it look like, what does it feel like, and to be able to communicate that to our team to get people to get behind it, right? Because we have to be vision oriented versus random oriented. What does that mean? At the end of the day, we're all going to do the same thing, right? We're all going to invite, we're all going to present, we're all going to close people to join the business. We're going to help people launch their business, right? We're going to train them and we repeat the process, right? Get customers and get customer getters. But at the end of the day, if that's all we're doing and that's all we're focusing on every single day, like I said, we're simply adding to the business and it's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to get bored and it's easy for it to get monotonous, right? But the key is this, right? Is to have vision. What are you building towards? Right? When you're building your own house, laying down brick and mortar, you're doing the same thing as somebody you hire to do that. The only difference is one person's building someone else's house, they're doing a job, and another person, guess what they're doing? They're building their dream home. They're designing their home. They're putting it together. And every time they lay down a piece of brick and mortar, they're excited because they're one step closer, right? And that's why having a vision is so important, right? That's when we talk about the orientation call. Your why is your vision. Right. And again, your why is your personal vision for you, but what is your why for your team? What is your purpose for building the business? And for me, my vision is very, very simple. I want to create an organization environment where when people join, they can feel safe, they can feel celebrated, where they know that this is a home for them to feel challenged, to be celebrated, right? And to be coached. So that way they can be, do, have anything that it is that they want, right? And one of the biggest things I realized that I know is that, yes, it is possible for us to have it all, but we cannot do it all. And that's why the importance of having a team is so important, right? And bringing people together, right? To be able to activate the law of exclusive growth and the law of victory, right? That John T. Maxwell talks about. Okay. Number two, it's all about exemplary work ethic, right? At the end of the day, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary, right? You have to put in the work to get there, and you have to have that solid work ethic. In fact, you have to check in with yourself, ask yourself, if my team did what I did and showed up how I showed up and had the same work ethic as I did, how big would my team be? How much money would I make? And again, the simplest way of duplication is to ask yourself, if my team did what I did, would it duplicate and would it become successful? And the answer is no. That's what we got to change, right? So leading by example is the main job of a leader, is to be the upline they wish they had, but more importantly, it's to be the rep they wish that they would coach. Does that make sense? So you want to be the leader you always wanted to have, to follow, but you also want to be the ideal rep. When you show up like that, guess what? You're going to attract other people like that, right? Leading by example with a tireless commitment to personal growth and professional development, right? That's huge. Next job as a leader is empowering mentorship, right? Investing in your team's development, providing guidance, coaching, and support to help them reach their full potential. You see, in the business, in any business, you're going to have ups and downs. In network marketing specifically, in this industry specifically, there's two things that need to happen. If both things are happening at the same time, you're going to have a lot of momentum. But in the down times, one of these two things need to be happening. If they're not happening, people are going to quit. People are going to fall off. And what is that? They need to either be learning or they need to be earning. Does that make sense? If they're learning and earning at the same time, that's the ideal situation, right? Or they could be earning but not learning, right? They're making money. They're going to stay in the business. But the other thing is we have to back it up with leadership development and coaching. Why? To help people become better than they are. Because we talked about it. The whole purpose of this call these calls is to support you in becoming a professional in this industry. Why? Because they're not going to pay us professional money for amateur skill, right? So if you want to make professional money, you have to invest time and energy into your professional education, okay? The next thing about a leader is effective communication. To be able to communicate clearly, to be able to listen actively, right? And foster open and honest dialogue with their team. And the last but not least, adaptability and innovation, right? To be able to embrace change, to be able to be daring, to take chances and go for it, to take the logical steps that you know you need to take. But when you get those moments of inspiration where it's almost like it's information's being downloaded from the ether, from God, the universe itself, a voice inside you tells you, reach out to this person or do this, take this action, implement this, be able to have the courage to be able to act on it, okay? To do the things you know you're supposed to do, but act on those moments of inspiration and innovation, okay? So let's go ahead and dive further into the topic. So, what is a leader, right? One of the best things that I love, learning in this industry is definitions, right? When you can define something, you can make it distinct and you can understand it. So let's talk about it. The definition of a leader, okay? A leader is an individual who guides and inspires and motivates others, right, to achieve a common goal. Leaders possess a strong vision, effective communication skills, and the ability to make decisions that influence the direction of a group or an organization. So that is what a leader is. And guess what? Like I shared in the beginning of the call, right? We have to become leaders, and more importantly, we're demanded to become leaders because people are searching for that. And here's what I want to share with you, right? Is that you have what it takes. Everything you need to say or do to become successful in Remon. Guess what? Someone's already said it. Someone's already done it. All you have to do is find those people, do what they do, say what they say, and guess what? You're gonna have what they have. And it's that powerful, right? Learning how to do the presentation is powerful. And guess what? You just got to find a new audience to present it to every single day, okay? Now, why network marketers must become leaders? Well, network marketing, also known as MLM, right, is a business model that relies on the recruitment and development of a network of independent distributors. That's the most technical term I can give you, right? Now, to succeed in network marketing, guess what? Individuals must become effective leaders who can inspire and guide their teams, provide mentorship, and lead by example. Okay, strong leadership skills are essential for building a successful and sustainable network marketing business. Okay, and again, when it comes down to it, right, it's our job to be able to inspire and guide our teams to lead by example. And leading by example is probably the number one thing because it's easier to share with people, right, your example than your opinion. Because when you're doing what you're asking your team to do and you're doing it in a way that inspires belief and confidence in them, they're going to get behind it because here's the deal. Whatever they believe will work, guess what? Is going to work, right? In order for them to believe that it's going to work, they have to see it working. And guess whose job it is to show them that it's working? It's you, okay? And so that's where it comes down to. So let's talk about it, right? What makes a 10-point leader? Well, number one, a leader pursues change. And that's the huge thing. If you want things in your life to change, guess what? You have to change some things in your life. Okay. If you want to change your body, guess what? You have to change your dietary habits, your fitness habits. If you want to change your finances, guess what? If you keep working the same job, you can calculate how much money you're going to make. You know how much money you're going to save. You know what your bills are going to look like. So if you want your financial situation to change, you have to change some things in your financial situation, right? Which is why we're here at Remon, right? To add that extra income, maybe to offset some bills in the beginning, but then, with the intention of creating, a lifelong income, right? To be able to make, imagine an annual income on a monthly basis, like so many people are doing in Remon. But in order for us to do that, we have to pursue change, right? And in life, change is the most consistent thing. And the biggest thing Mr. Timmer shared with me, that if I were to say, what's the number one thing that Mr. Timmer has shared with you in your 19 years of knowing him and being in the industry, is this. It all came down to my first meeting in 2005. I was 18 years old. I walked into a meeting and I felt like he was talking to me. He said, Julian, he didn't really say Julian, right? He was talking to a crowd of 300 people. And he was like 27 at the time, 28 at the time. And I remember him saying, again, it sounded like he was saying to me, he says, if you can have everything you want the way you are, you should already have it. So if you want more, you have to become more. And that's what it all comes down to. If you want more in your business, not only do you have to do more, but you have to become more. And a leader pursues change. Some people hate change so much that they're willing to lose, but you have to get to a point where you hate losing so much that you're willing to change, right? And to embrace change, right? Because a leader who embraces change is one who's willing to challenge the status quo. And guess what? That's what we're here to do, to offer them something different, to help them escape the matrix, right? To escape the mundane, the rat race, right? Challenge the status quo, to take calculated risk and to continuously seek opportunities for growth and improvement. They understand that the ability to adapt and evolve is essential in a rapidly changing world, and they're not afraid to push themselves and their team beyond their comfort zone to achieve greater success. In order for you to become a confident leader, you have to become comfortable at being a leader. Now, the only way to become comfortable at something is to be willing to be uncomfortable enough, but keep doing it until it becomes comfortable. That's the process of learning, right? When we do something new for the first time, we're nervous, right? But guess what? Through practice and preparation, we become comfortable with it. And when we become comfortable with it, guess what? We become confident. So essentially, any of the points that we talk about tonight, if these areas are not your strong suit, chances are it's because you're uncomfortable with it. But the more you lean into the uncomfortableness, right, the more you become comfortable in it. And in fact, right, magic starts outside the comfort zone. Okay. So we have to be willing to embrace change, right? We have to be willing to pursue change. And that also comes down to us. We need to shift ourselves, right, into becoming the person that we want to attract and become the person that we would let lead us. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the next thing is, the first thing is a leader pursues change. The second thing is a leader communicates vision and is able to call people into action, right? Articulating a clear and inspiring vision. We have the company's vision, which is so important. We talk about that, right? But you also have to create your own vision for your team. What does it look like? Right. And it's all about creating little visions, speaking about it, and showing people how they play a role into that. Does that make sense? Like recently, I think about a month ago, we had a director development call with Mr. Timmer and Chris Kim, right? All the directors and director candidates. And one of the biggest things that Tim shared is like, man, in March in Vegas, when we walked that stage, the goal is to have 30, 40 new directors walk that stage, to have the most director promotions, than any other organization, right? What is he doing? He's articulating a clear and inspiring vision. And then guess what he did next? He's motivating others to take ownership. And then he asked a simple question after that. He goes, for all the directors on the call, how many of you are running for senior directing by convention? How many of you want to be a national director by next convention? Right? So he's inviting us to take ownership, right? Inviting us to take ownership of what we say we want. And I'm like, man, I want, senior director. I want, 30, 40, 50 directors. That's the vision, right? I want to be, a senior director. So that's already two legs of director. And then he empowered the team to show up. He says to think bigger, not just what rank you want to have. Out of those 40, 50 directors that we're going to have cross that stage, how many of are going to come from your organization? And guess what? That opened up my mind. He's empowering me. He's empowering the other leaders to show up, right? To say, hey, this is a vision. How big of a role do you want to play? And then the next step is to foster a sense of purpose and urgency. To say that if it's going to happen, it needs to start now. And it's just not going to happen by chance. It's going to happen by choice. Do you have the people you've identified that you're going to run with, work with, develop, to push? Do you know what your deadlines are, right? To create that urgency. And that's what makes a great leader a great leader. They have a vision, right? And they're able to share that with people to get fired up. They motivate people to take ownership in that vision of how big of a role they want to play. They empower them to show up, but more importantly, foster a sense of purpose and urgency, right? And again, urgency is the biggest thing because without urgency, desire loses all value. Urgency is the best currency. Does that make sense? Right? Because success loves speed. That's why an airplane, in order to get, to new heights, it has to travel extraordinarily fast to push past gravity, the wind resistance, the turbulence, to get to that next level in the sky where it can coast. And again, that's actually a lot of how this business is going to work. To get your business off the ground, it's like an airplane. It's going to require a lot of speed and intention, fighting through the turbulence, right, to get to that place. And in fact, a lot of times it's going to require you to get active in the business. Even if you're busy, to get active in the business when the circumstances are not the best. And in fact, I'm going to invite you to consider that that's the best time to start building the business. Why? Because most people say, well, I'll put more time into the business when I have more time. when I'm less busy. And you know what that says? That's a little bit arrogant because you're saying that you're never going to get busy again. Because if you're going to wait when times get easier to prioritize your business, guess what? You might get your business off the ground, but the moment you get busy and life has obstacles again, it's going to be easy for you to quit because you're not going to know how to handle it. And you're going to get overwhelmed, you're going to get burnt out. But if you start when you're busy, when you start when it's inconvenient, guess what happens? You get the business off the ground, and when life becomes less busy and you have less obstacles, it's going to be that much easier to build the business. And then when life gets busy again and you have, obstacles get in the way, you have the confidence and belief knowing that you've weathered the storm before. And not only did you weather the storm, but it's what made you such a skilled sailor. Does that make sense, right? And there's a famous saying, smooth seas don't create, skilled sailors. And that's what you want to be. Right? You don't want to wish for less problems. You want to wish for more skill, right? You don't want to pray for an easy life, right? You want to pray for the skills to endure a challenging one, right? As Bruce Lee would say. Okay. Now, the next thing is a leader is competent and they know their business. You see, if you want to be a leader in this business, you have to be competent. You have to know what you're talking about and you have to know what you're doing. Okay. You have to be sharp. You have to be enthusiastic, but more importantly, when people see you, they have to believe that you're competent and you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, because guess what? If you don't show up as competent, people are not going to follow you. Okay, not only are people not going to follow you, they're not going to respect you. And the best part is to learn this business, right? How do you learn how to present? You know what the biggest mistake reps make, brand new planners make, is they think that the overview calls are only for guests. Or they think orientation calls are only for brand new prospects. Or they think K pop-ups, right, are only for guests and potential customers and planners. And if that is your mindset, it's okay. This is the time to shift it. But the biggest mistake brand new people make is they think that's what it's about. And you know what ends up happening? Because that's their mindset. When they don't have guests, they don't go on the overviews. When they don't have guests, they don't show up to the K pop-ups. When they don't have brand new planners, guess what? They don't get on the orientation calls. And they miss out a valuable opportunity because in this business, there's something called the 5 M's. It says for more meetings means more money. Now, what does that mean? More meetings means more money. If you have guests and brand new planners, you need the meeting. If you don't have brand new guests, brand new planners, the meeting needs you, right? Now, what does that mean? It needs you to be, obviously, if you have guests and new planners, it makes sense why you need the call. But when you don't have the call needs you, and here's what that means. The call needs you to be on to learn how to present the information so you can learn how to launch people. You see, the best people that succeed in this business, they have a different mindset. They understand I need to get as good at this business as fast as possible, and I need to become as independent in this business as fast as possible. And the best leaders, here's what they do. They get on as many Zoom calls as they can, whether they have guests or not. Why? So they can learn how to present, so they can learn the information. The more you're on it, the more you learn, the more you understand, the more comfortable you become, the more confident that you are. Does that make sense? Because you never want to be put into a situation. Imagine you're in a situation where you have a prospect in front of you who's excited to learn about the business, and you are the person that's best to show it to them because you have that relationship, and you freeze and you choke because you're unprepared. You didn't practice. You didn't learn the information, or you have to rely on somebody else. Does that make sense? Because now your business is in someone else's hand and you miss out valuable opportunity, right? It's better to be prepared with no opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. Does that make sense? So that's why the best leaders, they get on as many Zooms so they can learn how to present. Okay, they get on as many orientation calls so they know how to launch. They get on all the monthly rundown calls, the company calls. Why? So they can be up to date with changes that are happening in the company, promotions and bonuses. So that way, when their team asks them, they can communicate it, they can articulate it. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, a leader is competent, knows their business. Competency goes beyond words, right? It's being able to say it, is being able to plan it, and it's being able to do it where people want to follow you. Does that make sense? It's what we call being enrolling, right? Where people buy into you. Okay. Number two, not just competency in being able to say it, plan it, and do it where people want to follow you, but you have to have mastery of the product. Now, when I say mastery of the product, you don't have to be an expert like Angie, right? Where she knows every single individual ingredient, every single little thing, but you got to know the line, you got to know the product lines, maybe one or two facts, why it's beneficial, who is it for, how to use it, right? How to talk it, how to demo it, right? And say it with so much confidence, right? Because effective leaders, they're able to articulate the features, the benefits, and unique value propositions of our products. Okay, so you got to learn that. Okay, because a lot of times you're going to come across people and imagine someone sees your face, they see your results, they ask you a couple questions, boom, you want to be able to say, a couple things about it, right? Have that elevator pitch, have a couple of facts, right, off the top of your head in your mental Rolodex that you can pull from. Okay, leaders are competent, knows their business, right? That means proficiency in presenting and launching, right? Leaders should be well versed in a variety of marketing and sales strategies to effectively promote their business, recruit new distributors, and launch new people. And again, how do you get good at this? By just getting on the calls, right? Again, there's no reason that if you've been in the business for a while that you should be nervous if your upline, your leader says, "Hey, I need you to present. I need you to share the information." And if you freeze and choke, it means you're not prepared. Okay? And people can see that. People can experience that. And guess what? The best time to practice is when you don't have a guest. The best time to learn the information is when you don't have a guest. And the best part of all of our Zooms is, guess what? They're pre-recorded. There's a replay. When I first got started in this industry in 2005, I know I sounded like, really old, right? In 2005, like we didn't have DVDs yet, right? The back office wasn't as well designed as it right now. YouTube, right, didn't even exist yet, right? Or it wasn't a mainstream thing yet. It was just a bunch of cat videos. So you know what we did? We were trained to have a little voice recorder. We would take it to all their trainings. I would record the presentations and I would play it back. I would play it and memorize it like it was words to a song. I would listen to the trainings, right, over and over again. If I needed to get good at recruiting, I would record the recruiting training and just play it over and over again until I mastered the words, right? And that's how you want to be with the business, presenting, launching. You want to master it, and that's going to come down to repetition, right? Repetition is the father of all learning, right? And we are what we repeatedly do. So if you want to be a leader, we got to repeatedly practice making those choices and those habits of being a leader, mastering the skill. I come from a background of fighting, right? Imagine if the only time I practiced fighting was not in sparring, was not in drills, right? Was not, by myself on the bag. What if the only time I practiced kickboxing was when I was in the ring and there was an opponent in front of me? How good would I get? Not very good, right? Now, in fighting, there's a saying, the more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle. My question to you is this: what does your practice look like? How much are you sweating in practice? And when I say sweating in practice, what does that mean? Taking time every single day to learn your business, to learn about the products, learn about presenting, closing, launching, wherever you feel like you're not as efficient at, how much time are you investing in getting better at it? Because you're not going to get better at it by chance. You get better at it by choice. And again, a lot of these taglines, I say it over and over again, right? Just like a lyrics to a song, the more we hear it, the more we understand it, the more it sticks with us. So again, even the way I present, it's not by accident, right? And how did I get to where I'm at, where I can train on different topics of the business, is because for 19 years, I went, just to give you an idea, my first 5 years, every Tuesdays and Thursday, there was an opportunity meeting in person. Zoom didn't exist yet, by the way, right? We didn't have access to this, right? Now we have Zooms, we have replays, we have YouTube. People have access to information more than ever before. But when I first got started, I lived in Riverside, and every Tuesday and Thursday, I would drive 70 miles one way to Irvine to go to the office for an opportunity presentation, whether I had guests or not, right? And not only that, but every Friday I would make that same trip. So it's about 140 miles, both ways, right? On Fridays to attend the Friday leadership training that Mr. Timher would put on. And then on Saturdays, I would make that trip back in the morning because on Saturday mornings from 10 to 11, right, they had an overview call. They had an overview presentation where you could bring guests. And then from 12 to about 3, they had a Saturday training, right? Every Saturday goes over mindset, goes over inviting, it goes over promoting events and meeting etiquette. And guess what? Every Saturday was the same Saturday training, but it was so packed because we also understood the more meetings means more money. We just plug in, and every time I would record. And what was so valuable is that every weekend, the Saturday training, they would rotate speakers based on who the top producers were. So I got a chance to hear the same training from different perspectives, different examples, right? And through that is how I learned how to build the business. Now, what's exciting is that today, every single one of you on this call, You don't have to do what I did and drive 140 miles 4 times a week to have access to the information. And you don't have to bring a voice recorder to record on it and replay it, right? Now we even have Memo on our iPhones, right? We record it. But we had to have the voice recorder, and then we would have to delete certain recordings when we run out of space. So what's interesting is before we had less available, but we took it more seriously to become better at this industry. But now we have more tools available, and sometimes because we have more tools available, we take it easier. But imagine if we brought the same intensity into this business, right? And the next thing is leaders understand and they believe in continuous learning and development, right? The most effective leaders are committed to ongoing learning and skill development. We call it Kaizen, right? There's a Japanese philosophy called Kaizen. It means never ending improvement. And I'm a firm believer that finished never is, right? Finished never is. And what does that mean? We can always become better, right? Practice makes better. We hear practice makes permanent or perfect, right? But that doesn't exist, but practice makes better. And again, we are what we practice. How much sweat, equity are you putting into the company, right? How much practice are you putting into the business? And guess what? When you put in that practice, it's definitely going to show. Okay. Now, a leader also owns it. They take full responsibility, right? What does a leader own, right? Responsibility and accountability. As a network marketing professional, right, you must take full responsibility for the success of your business. This means not waiting for your upline or others to build it for you, but actively driving its growth and development. Remember, the 10 most powerful two-letter words ever organized together is if it's to be, it's up to me. Does that make sense? It's up to you. Okay, because at the end of the day, no one's going to care more about your business than you. No one's going to care more about your success than you. At least they shouldn't, right? Because you should want it more for you than anybody. And understand that this business is going to happen. Yes, with your upline support, it's going to be, it saves you a lot of time. But at the end of the day, if you didn't have an upline, you didn't have a team, who's it up to? It's up to you. It's up to you. And the moment you take full responsibility of your business, how you show up, the work that you put into it, the practice, the results, the failures, everything, the further you're going to go. The further you're going to go. Okay. The second thing a leader owns is self motivation and initiative, right? Because successful network marketers are self motivated and proactive. They don't rely on external factors to push them forward, but instead they take the initiative, set goals, create strategies, and execute on their plans. Right? I never had to have an upline tell me to get better. Does that make sense? Like in that sense, because I knew if I wanted something and I didn't have it, it's either because I'm not working the plan long enough or I don't have the right plan. And I knew it was up to me, right? Not to wait for my upline to reach out to me and tell me what to do. If I didn't know what to do, it was up to me to reach out to my upline, ask, hey, what should I focus on? How can I get better at this business? What do I need to do? And that self initiative, that self motivation will take you very, very far. Okay. The next thing a leader owns is continuous improvement. Notice a lot of these things are so nice. I got to say it twice, right? Again, to really drive the point home, continuous improvement, right? Building a successful network marketing business requires a commitment to continuous learning and improvement, right? Leaders in this industry are constantly seeking out new skills, techniques, and knowledge to help them grow their business. Right? If you need to become better presenter, there's so much resources available. A better closer, better at objections. All you have to do is seek and you shall find. But the challenge is most of you are not looking, right? Most people are waiting. And let me tell you something, right? Waiters don't make a lot of money, they just get tips. So stop being a waiter and stop being a babysitter too, okay? Be a leader, okay? And the next thing a leader owns is team empowerment, right? Now, while you're ultimately responsible for your own business, a key part of being a leader is empowering your team members to take ownership of their own success. That means providing them with the resources, support, and guidance they need to thrive, right? To support them, not help them. Okay. There's a big difference, right? When you're helping someone, it's like you're saying you don't believe they can do it themselves, so you're going to do it for them. Supporting them means you're filling in the gaps based on their experience level and based on the amount of skills they have, right? While supporting them and developing the skills to no longer need you. Remember, there's different types of leaders. There's insecure leaders and there's secure leaders. Insecure leaders need to be needed, and they built their business around that where it's all about them. Without them, the business doesn't function, right? Now, a great leader, okay, and a secure leader, right, doesn't need to be needed. They need to be succeeded. And that's the mindset I invite all of you to shift to, right? To become the leader that wants their people to become better than them, right? And to succeed beyond them. Does that make sense? Because think about it. You don't have to be great at this business. Don't worry about being the king or queen, right? When I was younger, that's what I was focused on, to being the best, to being number one, being in the spotlight. And why was that? Because growing up, with autism, ADHD, I didn't have a lot of friends. I never felt like I was good enough. But now I understand the bigger picture of the business. And what is that? It's to be the king or queen maker. Because if you get people and you help them become better than you, and you have a huge open line of all that, guess how much money you're going to make? A lot, right? And essentially, that's what you're doing. Imagine you're drafting a team. Who are the players you want on your team? What skill level do you want them to play at? And creating that culture, where you're developing them up. And that's what's so huge, right? So again, team empowerment, the difference is, hey, I'm gonna do these presentations for you. Okay? When you join, you could say that. Or you could say, hey, in the very beginning, I'm gonna do these presentations for you so you can learn how to do them yourself. In the beginning, I'm going to launch all your people for you so you can learn how to launch them yourself. It's just a change in the intention. You're still doing the same thing, but because there's a shift in intention, there's a shift in focus. And because there's a shift in focus, there's going to be a shift in results. Because now the people you bring in, they understand that your help, that your support, right, is for a reason. They know what that reason is. And now guess what? They're going to pay attention to the presentations differently. They're going to pay attention to the orientations differently. Because now, instead of just being there so that way you can close their prospects and train their brand new people, they're now there with the intention of learning how to do it so that way they can do the same thing for their team. Okay. And you want to empower them to be able to do that. Encourage them to step up, to challenge them, right? Maybe you've done a few K pop ups for them. And the next one, you have them do the product side and you do the rewards plan, right? Or you figure out what role that they're ready to play and you give them more responsibility. Remember, people don't rise up to low expectations, right? People don't rise up to low expectations. So what does that mean? Challenge them, get them to see the bigger picture and push them to do it. And then once they do it, they realize it's not that scary. They have what it takes. And it's almost like a new level of empowerment enters them and they're going to support you in going a lot further in the business. Okay. Now, the next thing is a leader has absolute confidence in their sweet spot. Now, people have different strengths in this business. You're going to have people who join and they're going to have passion for the product, right? They're going to become product experts, right? Then you're going to have people who join the business and they're going to be effective communicators. People who are going to join the business, they're really great at time management. They're very organized, right? And structured. Then you're going to have people that are really good at relationship building. And you're going to have people that are really good at adaptability, right? When you're building a team, you know what people's strengths are and you push them in their strengths while supporting them and developing in their weaknesses. Does it make sense? You have people play at their strengths, support them with their weaknesses to fill that gap until their weaknesses become as strong as their strengths. Okay. And again, it's all about setting up your team to win, right? If let's say you have certain leaders and they're not really good at being organized, support them in the beginning. Like, some people, let's just say they're really good, at showing the plan in business, right? Recruiting people, but they're not good at being organized. So in the very beginning, you let them focus on their sweet spot, which is recruiting. But guess what? You are the one that needs to be organized to show them and teach them how to do it. Does that make sense? Okay. So know your strengths, work on your weaknesses, know what your team's strengths are while developing their weakness. Okay. Now, the next thing is a leader has absolute confidence in their social styles, strengths, and weaknesses. And what are social styles? We briefly talked about this in the relationship training a couple of weeks back, how that's the glue. Now, there's so many different versions of this we've heard, right? But typically in network marketing, we call it the four colors, the red, blue, green, and yellow. Okay. Each one is motivated by different things, and each person has, different traits of each, right? A red, also known as a shark, they're very, success driven, right? They don't beat around the bush. They're very, very direct, right? The best thing is you can tell them like it is, tell them what to do. They're going to go out there and do it, right? They're very fast action takers. But what's the downside, right? What are some of the cons of being a red, right? Sometimes you're so focused on results, you're so focused on the now, you don't beat around the bush. To certain people, guess what? You can show up as uptight, right? Or rude, or, only one dimensional, right? Then you have blues. What are blues? These are social conscious people. They like having fun. They like being around people. They're the life of the party. They like the bright colors. They like the recognition, the promotions, the excitement, the hype. Okay, those are blues. What's the downside? What's the cons of some blues, right? Cons is if it's not fun, they don't want to do it. If it's not social, they don't want to be there, right? If it gets hard, right? They're like, it's not fun, they slow down, right? Then you have the greens. Greens are very analytical. They're very numbers, facts, logic, right? They know everything about everything. They need to understand everything before they even take action, right? These become experts in the business. But what are some of the downsides of being a green, right? Some of the downsides of being a green, a lot of times greens get analysis paralysis. If they don't know it, they can't take action on it, right? And then you have yellows, right? Yellow is very community based. It's all about friendship. It's all about the community. It's all about a cause, right? They're very, very great at moving people into a bigger vision. But what's the downside, right? The downside is because they're yellows, they can be a little bit more sensitive, right? Especially with reds. And again, for them, it's much more than making money. Okay. Now, here's the challenge. It's important to know what color you are, what leadership style you are. It's also important to know what color your team members are and what their leadership style is and learn to speak their language. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times when there's conflict in team building, it's usually a miscommunication in language. So, for example, a red and a yellow talking to each other, right? They both want to succeed, want to support each other. But imagine one person's more direct and upfront, like a red, telling it like it is, not being around the bush. The yellow, right, who's very about like family, peace, love, they're going to feel what? Oh, this person only cares about money. They don't care about me. They only care about results. When in reality, the red is probably just holding them accountable to what they said they wanted. Does that make sense? So it's very important to learn that. Now, if you want to dive deeper into that, there's a very, very good book called Personality Plus by Florence Littauer, right? She doesn't call it by the color. She calls it a sanguine, that's the blue, phlegmatic is the yellow, melancholy is the green, right? And the cleric is the red. So, I mean, very, very good. Very great for relationships too. And again, it's all about learning people's social styles, strengths, and weaknesses. It's all about learning what drives somebody, what's the language and leadership style they prefer, and taking the time to lead them how they want to be led and to speak to them how they want to be spoken to. Okay. And again, that's what leaders get good at, right? Because leaders understand that there's gonna be different types of people that join their team, and they're gonna learn how to work with people individually, not just as a group. Okay, so huge, and we're gonna talk more about that next week in the other leadership training. Right now, the next thing a leader understands is a leader understands the whole picture. Okay, a leader understands it's not about the products. Now, do we have great products? Yes, Heritage Ingredients, the Judge Lava Energy Water, the Giant Byung Pool that we own the pads to, right? The instant efficacy from the microfluidizer, right? From the microfluidizer, okay? Huge, right? Nanoliposomal technology. Products are great, affordable luxury, but it's not about the products, okay? It's also not about the opportunity. Do we have one of the most aggressive rewards and revenue programs in existence? Yes. I've never seen a company with a rewards plan where just simply getting customers, you can 4 times their commission to get up to 45% on your customer orders and personal orders. That's huge. I've never seen that. Most companies will only reward you for recruiting, building a team. We have a rewards plan that if you're just good at getting customers, you'll make a lot of money. If you prefer to build a team, you can make a lot of money, right? From the check match, the revenue share program, huge. But it's not about the opportunity, right? And it's not about the community. What does it mean? Yes, we attract kind people, skilled people, talented people, right? People that want to win, right? That are willing to support one another no matter what organization they're in. But it's not about the community. And it's also not about the story, right? But do we have a great story? Yeah, Chairman On and Mr. Huang being the youngest CEOs of a network marketing company in Korea, coming together, starting off Remon, right? Becoming the number one K beauty brand in all of Korea. When before a company called Amora Pacific was number one for 30 years. And here comes Remon becoming number one, right? Doing $2.5 billion in revenue in the first 4 years of business, started in 2018. Right? Powerful story, but it's not about the story. You see, a leader understands it's about the whole picture. It's about all of it. And they know how to articulate it. They know when to articulate it, right? Because when we understand the whole picture, only then can we truly understand and appreciate how this is what I call a 5-star opportunity because it checked all the boxes from the leadership, the products, the rewards plan, the opportunity, everything. And as a leader, it's important for us to understand the whole picture and be able to communicate that. Because at the end of the day, no matter how great the products are, the products don't move products. We do understand that, right? Timmer always talks about it. It's not like the products are going to sprout legs and go out there and sell themselves. And I'm even going to challenge you and say people don't move products. You're like, Julie, that doesn't make sense because it's up to us to share the products, right? To demo it, to talk about it, to use it. And I beg to differ. Products don't move products. People don't move products. People who are moved move products. Let me say that again. People who are moved move products. And the challenge a lot of times with leadership is we get so caught up in the routine, in the motion, that when we communicate to people, we're not enrolling them into the vision. We're telling them what actions to take, but we're not enrolling them into the bigger picture that if this gets done, then this will happen. And if this gets done, then this will happen. And if that gets done, then this will happen. And that domino effect of taking action, doing the right things, it's going to lead you into creating a life that you love, a life that you're excited about, a life that you don't need a vacation from. Does that make sense? That's what we got to get to back to doing. Not just telling people what to do, but enrolling them in taking that action is part of the bigger picture that's part of their vision, that's part of their why. Because at the end of the day, guess what? People who are moved move products. And that's what we should focus on, moving people. It's all about moving, touching, inspiring people. Because someone that's moved, touched, and inspired will take action. But someone that's not moved, touched, and inspired will not. And even if they did take action, guess what? That action is not going to be one that's going to inspire people. It's not going to be a motivating action. It's just going to be going through the motions. And when you're just going through the motions of building this business, you're not going to get very far. And in fact, when you lose sight of vision, you're no longer enrolling people, right? When I say enrolling people, I don't mean signing them up because guess what? Even if you sign people up, how many of you notice you got to keep enrolling them? You got to keep closing them, right? And when I say enrolling them, I just mean what I mean by that is enrolling them into a new possibility that their actions can create from them. You know, it's so easy. Hey, we need to set up 2K pop-ups, right? That's enrolling them into action. But that's not enrolling them into a new possibility of what their action can take for them, right? Enrolling them into the bigger, into that, what I'm talking about. It's like, hey, we need to set up 2K pop-ups up as soon as possible just to show you how easy it is to use, talk, and demo the products to your family and friends, get you a couple of customers, get you some new planners so you can see that the business is simple, right? And once you see that it's simple, you're going to be more excited and passionate. You're going to run harder, and that's going to support us in supporting you in creating your why, which is helping you make enough money where you can quit your job, you can stay home more with your kids and your wife and your family. That is the difference. It's removing people, right? Because moving people moves products. And that's what is so important. And that's what leaders are really great at, right? Is to be able to touch the heart before they ask for the hand. And again, it's something that, you know, when we get so caught up in the business and the routine of it, we're no longer communicating why that action is so important, what that action can lead to. We're just telling people what to do. And again, then we're no longer building our dream home, laying down brick and mortar. We're now building someone else's dream home, laying down brick and mortar. Does that make sense? Okay. The next thing is a leader's accountable. What does that mean? Number one, leaders own up to mistakes. No one's perfect. And I actually got this, from my wife Yvonne. She said it really great. She goes, leaders don't always make the right decision, but they always make every decision right. And that was so huge. Like I've never heard that before until she shared it with me, right? And again, I love that statement because it relieves a lot of pressure on us, right? As leaders, yes, we always want to make the best decisions, but guess what? Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, and we only make the best decisions we can make at that time, given the information. That's why hindsight's so powerful, right? The only reason why we know we could have done better is because now we have results to look back on. And again, leaders, right? I'll repeat what Yvonne said. She said, great leaders don't always make the right decisions. They always make every decision right. And so how do you do that? By owning up to your mistakes, by admitting when you made an error and taking responsibility for the consequences, saying, hey, I messed up. How can I make this better? How can I do better, right? Number two, leaders accountable. They follow through on their commitments, right? They keep their word and they deliver on what they promised to their team. Okay. And it's huge. Your word needs to be like gravity. Does that make sense? They need to be able to count on it. And whether they believe gravity is real or not, right? Whether you believe gravity is real or not, you jump out of a window, very quickly you're going to believe in gravity, right? And that's how your word should be. That whether people believe in it or not, they will see it and it will show up. and make them a believer, right? Number three, a leader's accountable for regular updates, to provide regular updates, right? They proactively communicate progress. They actively celebrate their team, celebrate their actions, but also, right? Guess what? They're providing regular updates on promotions for people to be prepared for. That's why the monthly rundown is so important, right? That's also why jumping on the weekly Zoom orientation calls are so important. And I'll share with you why too. Okay. And maybe some of you have experienced this, and now that you've experienced it, you can learn from it and take new action, right? A lot of different organizations, chances are you have your own Zoom meetings, right? Maybe you edited your own PowerPoint presentation that you liked better. Maybe you have your own system of launching people, on the orientation, you like have a better flow or a different system, whatever. See, the challenge with that is though, when you do that, you stop getting on the company calls. And when you stop getting on the company calls, now one, if it was your turn to speak on the company call, you're not going to be prepared. You're not going to know how to do it because you ran your own system, right? And so now you're going to be nervous. But the other thing that's going to happen is you're not going to be up to date with the new promotions and new bonuses. And guess what? If you're not up to date with the promotions and bonuses, your team is not up to date with the promotions and bonuses. If they're not up to date with the promotions and bonuses, they don't know how to run for it. And not only that, but when the company makes changes or updates, right? A lot of things that were going on, right? There were people that didn't know what Remon dollars were. And when Remon dollars came out, they're like, what happened? These Remon dollars, where did it come from? And they're like, but we've been mentioning it for 3 months. Oh, you weren't on the company call? That's where we talked about it. So it's so important to get on the company call. So why? So when it's your turn as a team leader and director and you speak on these company calls, you'll know how to do it and you're prepared to do it. But not only that, but you're up to date on the promotions and bonuses so that way you can tell your team so they can maximize and take advantage of it all, right? That's why the Friday leadership calls that Tim Her and Chris Kim does is so important because not only are you going to get a chance to learn from other top directors in the company, but you're going to be up to date on how to maximize the promotions they thrown out, right? Now we just had Black Friday. There's trainings on how to maximize Black Friday, right? All these different things. They're teaching you how to promote and take advantage of the update. So that's why it's so important, right, to be accountable for that and to hop onto the company calls. Now, if you're doing a K pop up, you have other events or you have a meeting or work's running late, that's understandable. Get on as many calls as you can. Whatever calls that's available and you're available for it, get onto it. Why? It doesn't hurt to learn and it doesn't hurt to get better. Does that make sense? Four, leaders embrace accountability, right? They establish clear expectations and they hold themselves and their team members accountable for their work. And I think that's so important because at the end of the day, people respect what you inspect. Does that make sense? People respect what you inspect. So have clear expectations and standards in your business and hold yourself to it. That's number one. And then also hold your team to it, right? Because guess what? People don't rise up to low expectations, right? If you raise the bar, you might lose the losers. But guess what? If you lower the bar, you're going to lose the winners, right? And at the end of the day, who do you want to lose? Not saying people are losers, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Because guess what? When you raise the bar, it's going to call people forward. The people that want to play, the people that want to learn, the people that want to be good, right? The people that have that DNA, that determined natural ambition, they're going to strive for it. You know what I mean? And the best leaders, like I said, are hungry for success and are thirsty for knowledge. They don't just wait for it; they go after and they look for it, right? They don't wait for things to be tough and challenging, right? Before they make a change, they go after it before it becomes tough and challenging. Number five, huge leaders accountable. They learn from experience, right? And that's so important to reflect on your actions, right? To identify the areas that need improvement and implement change to do better next time. You make a mistake once or twice, it's just a mistake. But guess what? Three, four, five, 6 times plus, now it's no longer a mistake. It's actually a choice. You're choosing to do it. You're choosing not to get better. And leaders understand the value of experience because the only way to get better is to make, not the only way, but one way to get better is by making mistakes. And when you make mistakes, only then can you see what you could have done better, right? And I think it's so huge. And so to wrap it up, characteristics of a leader, and we're done, okay? So just to refresh the characteristics of a leader, and then, like I said, next week we're going to talk about how to recruit and how to develop leaders. Okay. So, characteristics of a leader. Number one, they're vision and goal oriented. They possess a clear and compelling vision for the business and sets ambitious, achievable goals to guide them towards success. Okay, and I'll give you a secret, right? That's why we do the orientation the way we do, right? Remember, when we do the orientation, we have people write down short-term goals, long-term goals, and their why. Their why is their vision. Now, what's the purpose of a short-term goal? The short-term goals are goals that show them that the business is working. That could be signing up a planner, hitting this rank, getting a customer, whatever it is. Those short-term goals. Long-term goals lets them know they're on track towards their vision or their why. Does that make sense? Okay. Number two, excellent communication skills. Communicates effectively with team members, listens actively, and provides clear and constructive feedback to help them grow. Okay, constructive feedback. And here's what I want to share with you. It's a slight distinction. When you're talking to your leaders, you're talking to your team. You're not calling them out, you're calling them forward. Think about that. You might say the same words, but the intention is different. Calling someone out is like pointing somebody out for doing something wrong, for making a mistake, right? And for some people, based on traumas, how they've grown up, people are going to shut down. Calling them forward it's saying with the intention that, hey, you're capable of so much more, and I know it. You're better than this. This is what you're capable of. This is what you can accomplish. Calling them forward, right, to rise up. Okay. Characters of a leader: motivating and motivational, inspiring. Motivates and inspiring team members to reach their full potential, fostering a positive and energetic work environment. Right. It's about putting your team first. And again, I learned this from Danny Bay. He says the order of priorities. Number one is the vision first, right? Every action you take should be towards the vision, number one. Number two, the second priority is your team. Third priority is you. Vision, team, you. That's the priority, right? And when you operate from that, it's very easy to drive results. It's very easy to be motivating and inspiring. But more importantly, it's easy for you to be motivated and inspiring. And it's easier for you to make the right decisions. Because again, when you're faced with an opportunity, a moment, ask yourself, what's the best action I can take towards the vision right now? What's the best action I can take towards the team right now? And finally, what's the best action I can take for me right now? And when you put that in order, you'll go a lot further, okay? Next, coaching and mentoring, right? Leaders dedicate time to coaching and mentoring team members, helping them develop their skills and reach their personal and professional goals. Okay. Training, teaching people how it works. If you notice someone struggling with a certain area that they're missing, guess what? Spend some time to work with them and develop that in them. And the best way to work and develop that in them is to lead by example and not tell them how it's done, is to show them how it's done. Okay. Because every once in a while, you got to slide your credentials across the table and to remind people who you are and what you're capable of, okay? Next is adaptable and resilient, okay? Leaders adapt quickly to change in the market and industry and remains resilient in the face of challenges, guiding the team through difficult times. And again, as leaders, I want you to imagine, people are always watching you. How you want to be is like a duck on the pond. What does that mean? Have you ever seen a duck on a pond? It looks like they're just floating, right? Nice and peaceful. But you know what they're doing? If you could look under the water, their feet are pedaling incredibly fast in order for them to float like that. So on the surface, you're just calm, chill. Under the surface, you're working your butt off, right? And Timur has a great analogy. I know it's kind of a masculine, super manly, analogy. We'll find a feminine version of it, right? So everybody's happy. But he goes, how you need to show up is James Bond on the outside, cool, calm, but Terminator on the inside. Does that make sense? And that's how you want to show up in life, okay? Next is integrity and ethical conduct. At the end of the day, right, leaders exhibit strong moral principles. They maintain high ethical standards and leads by example, which fosters trust and respect with their team. Okay? So that's what the characteristics of a leader. And again, I'm going to invite you to use this training as an audit, right? To go over the different points that I landed and ask yourself, what areas do you need to work on? What areas should you develop? What areas can you get better at? And spend some time to get better at it. You don't have to spend all day at it, like 1 hour a day of personal development, whatever it is. Invest in your time and your money into getting better at life, the business, and people. And I promise you, those skill sets will take you all around the world and will allow you to build teams internationally. And like I said, it's huge. And so that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Time's now 6:59. It's officially been 59 minutes. I appreciate the time that we spent together, and I appreciate every single one of you for watching this live, and even for the people watching the replay. And I'm going to invite you to not just let these trainings just fall on your ears one time, but to keep coming back, re-listening to it, especially when you need to touch up on a certain topic, right? And again, the more we listen to it, the more we understand the lyrics. And the more we understand the lyrics, here's what's going to end up happening. When you start communicating with your team, you're going to start saying a lot of the same things I'm saying here. And a lot of the things I'm saying here, guess what? I learned it from Timur and Chris Kim and all the mentors I've had by attending so many trainings, right? How did I get good at speaking? I got really good at listening to speakers and I got good at practicing speaking. And then guess what? My opportunity came to speak. I was ready, I was prepared, and I owned it. And that needs to be your mindset, right? To be prepared when you have no opportunity. So when the opportunity shows up, you're more than prepared. So that being said, have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. And with that being said, let's get it.